Hello and welcome to another video in which we find out what element is the best to use in the first 7 dungeons for the levels 51 to 100. Since I'll cover 7 dungeons in this video, I will try to keep it short for each dungeon where possible. Let's do this. The first dungeon in the video is the Wabbit's castle. We see that the earth element is the worst choice and the air element is the best. The difference here are minimal, so it doesn't really matter which element you are. That also applies to the Kanniball Village. The differences between the elements are minimal, but again the earth element is the worst choice. However, if you equip a neutral element weapon, you're making things a bit easier for yourself, since that is the best way to go in this dungeon. The Blop Fields dungeon is a little special. The last room is different depending on the dungeon keeper you choose to fight. I chose to combine the resistance of all different dungeon keepers together and take the average as the resistance for the dungeon keeper. Besides that, I chose not to include the blob that comes with the chosen dungeon keeper. So in this sheet we only see 19 monsters for the whole dungeon instead of the normal 20. What stands out is that it is really worth using a neutral element weapon if you are using the earth element. This is mainly caused by the dungeon keeper always being weak to the neutral element. Other than that, there is no element having a real benefit over the others. As you can see, the sheet for the Jellith Dimension is empty. This is because it's pointless to fill it, since all elements will end up with the same result. The normal jellies don't have any resistance, while the dungeon keepers are all weak to one element and resistant to the others. Since they are all resistant to the neutral element, there is no benefit from using a neutral element weapon. Therefore, the result for each element would be the same. The Nelveen dungeon, as I call it, shows almost no difference between the elements. Only if you are the earth element with a neutral element weapon, it helps if you use it. Other than that, there's not much to talk about. Otomai's arc is mainly good for the earth element. Having a neutral element weapon helps, but it is not a deal breaker in this dungeon. The fire element is also not too bad, while the water element is the worst choice, since most monsters are resistant to water. The Crackler Dungeon is quite a difficult dungeon. You can get overwhelmed if you cannot kill the summons or the dungeon keeper quickly, so having an element that works in your favor will really help you out here. If we look at the numbers, we see a clear winner. This dungeon is by far the easiest when using the air element. The dungeon keeper is weak to both the earth and air element, and since the last room does not contain an earth, which has a 50% resistance to earth, the earth element is a good alternative. So far in the overall result, we see that the earth element, in combination with a neutral element weapon, is leading by quite a margin. In the previous video, we saw that the water element was the best overall choice, but in this category the water element is in last place so far. But there are 14 more dungeons to cover, so things might all change. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and hopefully I will see you on the next one. Bye!